Just gonna refocus and we're gonna go again. All right. Has the bias of the basis of the economy shifted to digital marketplace?
I think the question is, has the basis of the economy shifted to a digital marketplace? I think this has been a symbiotic relationship. I think as marketplace itself saw that digital was more accepted by the consumer, they pushed it further. As they pushed it further, the consumer said this is a much better way to shop, regardless of the product here. I'm not just talking malls. I'm talking cars, vacations, hotels, whatever you could think of. They realize, you know what? I can see pricing for 12 different hotels here, cars, rentals, whatever. So as they enjoyed it, as they used it, of course, the manufacturer or the promoter of the product became more into this digital marketplace, and it started to build and it started to feed off of each other. And this got its own momentum going. So is it a digital marketplace? Yes, because they realize how much more efficient this is. And the real question here is, why are costs down so low to the manufacturer, not directly being reflected back to the consumer, and certainly not to the workforce that works for these companies? Why are they cutting more jobs, showing greater profits? They can reduce price, but they're reducing the price and making it get paid for by reducing the workers' salaries. So it's not really working out well in general for the people who are buying the products. So they seem to be lowering their salaries, but also lowering the cost of what they're buying. Stephen Colbert always joked around about the 12-pack of tube socks for just 99 cents. And he's always been trying to explain that's costing somebody their job. Sure, you can buy those online. They'll get shipped via Amazon or whomever. They'll appear at your door, but 5 people just lost their job because you bought a 12-pack of tube socks for 99 cents. So there are many, many different sides to this shift to a digital economy and a digital marketplace.
Okay. Cool. Don't say I think. Just tell me what you know. All right. Has the price of the housing market been manipulated to force a two-income family?
One of the centerpieces of this whole book and my whole theory on this is the new price of housing. When I did some research on this, 1950 Levittown house right here in Levittown, Long Island, was roughly $8,000. And when you look at what the salary was, the average salary at that time, it was roughly $8,000. Fast forward to this same house. I'm not talking about a different part of the country, not talking about a different part of anything. I'm talking about the same street in Levittown, literally the same house, is now $400,000, if not $450,000. Yes, they put some work into it. That is a 50-time ratio. People are not making $400,000 a year. Why did this change happen? What caused this? And what effect does it actually have? And the question is, why do we need 2 incomes? Because back then, when it was an $8,000 house and an $8,000 salary, 1 income did fine. My family growing up, we had 1 income. Most everybody I knew had 1 income. Why is it so different? And what was the reason and what was the final effect of forcing the other parent, male, female, husband, wife, whatever, out of the house to work? And that's kind of where this premise started to congeal for me. If you remove 2 parents, no one is home for that child, and that child has to rely on outside sources for rearing, for parenting, we start to weaken a family unit. So did the housing market rise cause there to be 2 people working in a household? Yes. But what was the reason behind it? And that's kind of the premise I'm going for. One of the three main things I want to talk to you about.
All right.
Am I crazy or is this much better than the last time?
Yeah. I don't mean. I'm thinking. I'm looking more visually than content wise.
Yeah.
Mostly
I'm-
because I'll pay attention to the content.
Later. No,
Yeah.
I think I'm talking
Yeah.
about speaking, acting, and talking.
Yeah. I think you're much more alive.
Yeah.
But I think you're also not time warped by going through your childhood home. I think that has a little to do too. You're a
I
little
don't
more
think it's not
focused.
106.
Yeah, those two things combined.
Yeah, it's kind of caused the problem that day.
But yeah, you're doing great. It's
As long
really
as
good.
you're,
Um,
not long as you're happy, but long as you're seeing it as a viewer better.
yeah, I think it's cool. I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
All right. Has there been any manipulation of laws to allow the pricing market to go up, forcing it to income families? Has there been any manipulation of the laws themselves?
One of the three pieces of this entire book and this entire documentary has been marketplace manipulation, the abusive use of technology, and a lack of governance. And lack of governance means that the laws have either not been enforced, have been changed to allow certain things to happen. Maybe a lot of people, especially in my age group or maybe younger, have heard of the Glass-Steagall Act. That was enacted in 1932 to kind of stop the effects of the First Depression. It really meant that investment and commercial banks could not mingle money. Because that means what happens is you're not betting with the money you brought to Atlantic City or Vegas. Now you're betting with the nest egg. And now you're betting with the college fund. And that's why they were trying to keep those two things separate. The repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act happened in the late 90s. They all want to blame Bill Clinton. I get it, whatever. But it happened in the late 90s. This was opening the door to what would become about 10 years later. One of the things that I constantly have to argue with people, and this sounds a little unusual that people don't believe this. I say to them, don't you realize economies are planned? Do you think global economies just shape and happen on the swim and surf and the movement of the free market? Things are planned. Because when a global market collapses, this is when wars start, this is when chaos starts, this is when people die, governments get overturned. So laws being changed, it's not just on someone's whim. It's because there's a long-range plan, and at this point in time, the law doesn't fit it. Good?
Yep, so I think that answered the second question, which is
Yeah.
explain glass. So
Yeah,
we're gonna,
I figured let's group the three, right?
yeah.
Because they're interconnected.
All right, so we're going to move on to explain the interface as the product. Let me put this paper down. So
Yeah,
the
no problem.
interface as the product.
One of the key parts of all of this has been the use of interaction design to drive this new economy. I'm always amazed with the impact that the phone has had, the cell phone, we call it the mobile. The ability to deliver content directly to the consumer on their couch, in their car, at school, wherever they are, because they have this mobile touchscreen element. So is the interface the product? Jeff Raskin was the person who said that. He was an Apple developer. He clearly just stated the interface is the product. And the way you want to answer that is, well, have you ever gone to an ATM that kind of didn't work right? You left. Have you ever bought an app or even used a free app that just wasn't working correctly? And you just didn't use that product line. If you go to Amazon, now you've been trained how to use Amazon, but any new product that comes out, it had better work within a certain parameter for it to be successful. The interface is the product, meaning Uber doesn't have any cars. Airbnb has no hotel rooms. Alibaba owns no goods. Facebook makes no content. Neither does Twitter, neither does Snapchat. But these companies are valued in billions because your use of the interface has made their product for them. If it doesn't work well, if it doesn't suffice, if it doesn't serve your needs, they're on to the next one. So the product of the interface has to be the focus and concentration of any of these companies in the new economy.
How did this perfect storm create a new economy?
Good jump. First, define the perfect storm. In my book, in the way I wrote it, the perfect storm was marketplace manipulation, the abuse of technology, or abusive use of technology, and the lack of governance. When you put those three things together,